Hey, today on Hey, We're Talking.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
I hope you guys listen to these three stooges.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hey, We're Talking. It's me, Scotty D, and I got Derek and Bob here. It's very exciting, isn't it, Derek?
Very exciting. Happy Wednesday?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tossed that off to you because I wanted you I threw it over to you because I wanted you to talk a little bit because you look different. You look like I don't know if you've trimmed the upper hair around your mustache area or if that was an accident. You did it on purpose?
I did it on purpose, and I don't even know how you even noticed because these screens are so tiny.
Well, this
I
is
can't
all
even...
thick and looks lush, and then up here it looks like it's just like maybe like 2 or 3 days growth.
I was wondering why Scott was licking his lips.
What?
He must have been just staring at yours. Just
so weird.
like a Derek
Okay,
lip.
so
No, he's got the Amish cut going a little bit.
I did some shaving too.
Yeah, I
got rid
did
of the
too. I
beard.
shaved here.
we're not talking to you yet, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Hold
Oh,
on.
jeez.
Oh, jeez, come on. No, I usually like to I like to get the beard buster out occasionally and trim the old facial hair, and I took it down to the a lower setting on the mustache. It took it off just a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I was like, you know what? I'm good with this. I like it.
So you like that? Do you do that on the sides here too a little bit? Because that looks thinner also.
No, I've got it just a little bit thicker on the sides, and even here on the chin,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more thicker.
Yeah.
So I kind of
a little bit more
like that.
thicker. I like
a little
that.
bit more thicker. But I don't mess with this area under the chin. That is it's
a danger zone.
No, it's not. I don't mess with it.
If you mess it up badly, you have to start all over, and then you have nothing.
I let Kim take care of that. My stylist. Shout out to Kim at Salon.
It's just called Salon. That's it.
It's called the Salon.
I think
we've
I've
this
played that bit
discussion
before, haven't I? Yeah, just Salon.
Well, even everybody around here, they're like, "So Derek, where do you get your hair cut?" Like they ask me that all the time.
And are you like the only place there is?
I go to the Salon, and they're like, "I get that, but where? Which one?" I'm like, "No, the Salon, 18th and Scurry." Jeez, get with the program.
It's like a Who's on First thing.
Yeah.
People think, okay, you're going for the salon. Yeah, we get it, Derek, but what's the name of the salon? Salon. No.
How many salons can there be in Big Spring?
Right.
Well,
is there like a Supercuts or something like that?
No, we've got the Walmart. Walmart haircut
has
joint.
A haircut place?
Walmart has everything. There's a bank. There's a haircut place. There's a daycare. There is
Walmart daycare?
Yeah.
No.
There's like the pet shop. There's the car dealership. No, I'm just kidding. None of that exists. No,
there's no pet shop. But is there daycare?
No, there's no daycare.
Oh,
there's a
I
bank.
was like, that's new.
There's
a
terrible.
bank, and then there's the haircut place.
Is it the Walmart bank, or is it like a bank that is inside Walmart?
It's the Woodlawn Bank, and
Yeah.
I think it's the firm that's where they operate out of.
Woodlawn is
I think it's a spin-off of Walmart though. I think they own that bank.
But Woodlawn is the name of the hospital that they took John F. Kennedy to after he got shot, after he was assassinated.
No, that
Isn't
is
it?
incorrect.
What is it
Parkland.
called? Parkland. Oh, why did that? Oh, we can't say Parkland right now anyway because of Florida.
Oh,
isn't that where the kids got all shot and stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, people that work at Parkland Hospital, they still got to go to work.
No, they have to change their name because it offends people now. You can't say it. It's too soon. Too soon.
People aren't as sensitive as you think, Scott. Bob?
Bob, are you as sensitive as I think?
Not really.
I feel like we've been excluding Bob.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I was just looking up to see if that Wood Forest National Bank.
It's Woodlawn.
Oh, it's probably Wood Forest.
Son of a...
See, I just corrected it all to see if it was owned by Walmart, and it's actually I don't think it is. No, it looks. It's a privately held bank headquartered in Woodlands, Texas.
Is it from Walla Walla, Washington? No, I'm kidding. I know you just said Texas.
But obviously it's in all the Walmarts.
Wouldn't it be cool if you lived in Walla Walla, Washington?
I remember it was like the big bit in the cartoons and Three Stooges.
Yeah. You know, there's a whole like generation of people who's never going to get to experience those because Bugs Bunny cartoons would be considered racist now. Because there's a lot of like making fun of like Japanese and Chinese and stuff in the Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, but those are few and far between where they really lay it on thick. There are a few.
They do really go.
There are a few that I remember from my childhood where, I mean, but it was at the height of World War II. Anti-Japanese sentiment, anti-German sentiment was at its height.
Huge,
you know. So, I mean, it was Bugs Bunny was part of the propaganda machine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They had him selling war bonds. You know, he was sponsored by the government. And so they just put out funny cartoons making fun of the Japanese, making fun of the Germans. It was a time of war, people. You know, go America.
All is fair in love and war against the Germans and stuff.
There's a big difference. I don't think that a lot of these cartoons would be able to get away with it today because too many people would have something to say about it.
No. So like Family Guy can do it, but that's not a kid's cartoon.
Well, and they don't care.
Correct.
That's the thing. So something like Family Guy, they don't really care. And what was it? South Park, that was the same way. They they didn't care. They'd say whatever they want. They'd be racist. They'd make any sexual joke or do whatever. And they just didn't care. But people continue to watch it.
Yeah.
I think the old cartoons like to kind of gloss over the violence and maybe domestic abuse. There's one of my favorite Looney Tunes was a Daffy Duck cartoon. I think it was called The Wise Quacking Duck. And
I like that you know the name of it.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows the episode names? Nobody.
I had to get the episode name so that I could look it up and watch it, for free. But he's at some dude's house, and the dude is like this, what they call back then, he's henpecked. Means his wife's the boss.
Yeah.
Well.
Right? And so his job is to kill a duck and make dinner. And so he's going after Daffy Duck. And so, you know how Daffy Duck likes to do his diversionary tactics and distractions. He offers him coffee. And we'll probably should have gone over this with Chris Bean. But in that, yes, how many lumps does your wife usually give you? As in lumps of sugar in your coffee. And the guy took off his hat and he goes, well, this morning, my wife, Sweetie Puss, that's what he called her.
Wow.
She only gave me one lump. He takes off his hat and he's got the crazy little lump on his head.
Yes.
Oh, the ones that are always the super high knots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you presented to my ER with that, I would be horrified. But in the cartoons, it's hilarious.
It is.
I don't know how to reconcile.
And the crazy thing is, we didn't go around like smashing people on the head or anything. Well, not all of us.
Well, that's what Daffy Duck did. He was like, "Well, have another lump," and he takes a hammer,
of course,
smashes him in the head, and hilarity ensued.
It always made me laugh that when they take off their hat or whatever, their lump is way huge, and if they would have put their hat back on,
it wouldn't have.
It actually would have been floating on the lump, but. They take their hat off.
Well,
and
Bugs
boom,
Bunny, actually, if you remember, there was somebody that he did that with. The hat actually stood up a little bit, so he just tapped, because they had multiple lumps, and he just tapped them down so that they would even out so he could get the hat back on.
Yes, that's what they teach in medical school these
you
days.
Just tap it. You just tap it down.
You don't need emergency neurosurgery. No. You just need to tap down the lumps.
Have you ever had like a really huge knot on your head before? Either one of you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. It hurts really bad.
That's a horrible feeling. And then the whole area, several inches around the lump, hurt as well. And
yes. How did you get yours? The one you're talking about sounds so specific. What happened? How did it happen?
No, I've done it over the years. A lot. Sometimes the cabinets in the kitchen would be left open.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't realize it, and I stand up, whack, crack my head on it.
Oh, dude.
I mean,
who leaves them open? Is this like when you're an adult?
Every single day I could probably go in there right now, Like if this camera was mobile, I could probably go in there right now, and I guarantee there'd be cabinets open.
What in the world is going on? Why do people leave the cabinet doors open?
They're just lazy. Something. I don't know. I don't know. That's just part of the issue.
Dude,
I leave cabinets open. I'm
do
sorry.
You really?
I do, and my wife gets really upset.
The good thing is you guys are both not very tall, so the likelihood of you bashing your skull on the cabinets are lowered, I think, especially for your wife.
Your son is the one smacking his head, probably.
Poor kid. Yeah. Hitting his head. I got hit in the head with people that swung objects a lot. So I got hit in the head with a 2x4. My brother hit me with a 2x4. And then I got hit in the head multiple times by baseball bats when I was playing like games or whatever with people, and it was usually the aluminum bats. Oh my gosh, and the noise it would make. I cracked
my brother with a wooden baseball bat. Oh, so what we would do when we were young
on purpose?
No, it was accident. So when we were young, we would all stand at the base of my driveway, and we would have tennis balls with a wooden baseball bat, Louisville Slugger, and we'd throw them up and try to hit them over. I mean, this was back in the day, so nobody cared. We would try to hit it over to the next block, so it would go over somebody's house and wind up either in their backyard, their front yard. We tried to get, to the next block over. So we were out there doing it one day, and not a big deal. And then I went to throw it up, and just as I was full swing, my little brother ran in front of me, crack, right across the head with the Louisville Slugger. Huge knot, had to get stitches, all that stuff. But that's what happens, Yeah. I mean, kids have fun.
I have a somewhat similar story, but I'm going to save it for Friday when we tell people, because it made me remember a story about my life. See? Thank you very much.
Yo, teasing the show.
I'm teasing it already.
Oh, man.
All right. So any which way, the cartoons... anybody who's listening to this that is like probably under the age of 30, would you say they probably have not experienced those cartoons? Would that be?
I don't know. My son, I mean, I didn't go out of my way.
Didn't you expose him to those though?
I don't know. I don't really remember going out of my way to expose him to Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry, but he's still pretty much aware of all that. Loves Bugs Bunny and all those. So it's not. I would say people are still aware. Young people are still. They know what's up.
Bob, yeah, but they don't know it like we do. That's
I think for us, like for me, it's ingrained into my thought processes, into my DNA, into my sense of humor. Are the Looney Tunes type sensibilities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of stumbled onto a really good topic here, and I want to keep going down this path because I'd like to know when you guys were kids. So I've just got all these, now that we talked about Bugs Bunny, I've got a million things running through my head of all the cartoons that I really used to like. But it's also reminding me of I used to love Laurel and Hardy. And I don't think there's probably a lot of people that are going to, like younger people, that are ever even going to see those, like Laurel and Hardy or the Three Stooges. Probably the Three Stooges more likely, but Laurel and Hardy. Do you think that younger people have ever seen Laurel and Hardy?
Probably not, because that was limited in my time. Laurel and Hardy was. So Three Stooges was there. I used to watch that all the time. But my kids probably don't know Three Stooges.
What about Our Gang, like the Little Rascals and stuff like that?
Oh, Our Gang, I'm barely aware of that, and I think it's because they did they did a remake in the 90s of the Our Gang, 94.
Well, they did. I think it's Little Rascals they redid. Because Rascals. Our Gang was before they became the Little Rascals, if I'm thinking correctly. Because Spanky used to be like this little cute little kid in Our Gang. Do you guys know who Spanky is?
Remember. Yeah, I know who Spanky is. I barely remember the Little Rascals, so Our Gang that's not even on my radar.
Okay.
Yeah, I barely watched maybe an episode, and I think it's just because some of them might have fallen into public domain. And to be honest with you, I've heard of Laurel and Hardy, obviously, but I don't think I couldn't tell you what they look like. I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen them do their shtick or the routine. Abbott and Costello,
yes,
sure.
yeah, they were way more popular. Yes, but like I think Laurel and Hardy were probably the precursor to Abbott and Costello, I would say, because they were. I mean, we're talking Abbott and Costello were modern compared to them. I mean, they were more. Yeah. It's more like Laurel and Hardy was more like kind of that slapstick kind of physical comedy. I know Abbott and Costello did that also, but yeah. Anyway, we're losing people Hardy, by the moment here.
Laurel and Hardy were pretty much from the 1920s through the mid 40s.
Okay.
For their slapstick comedy.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what it's.
That's when the Stooges. That's when the Stooges were. You know, they were Stooges and Curly. That's when they were at the apex on film. So I am a Stooge fan. I think I used to collect old books and Stooge memorabilia myself a long time ago.
Okay, before we drop off the Stooge topic, I got to ask you, Shemp, Curly Joe, thoughts?
Well, Shemp was actually an original Stooge. He was in the original group when they were on vaudeville, and
he's pulling out the good stuff here.
Oh yeah, he didn't like their manager. He did not like the guy that was managing them.
Okay,
and so
they were crooks back then.
You know, the Stooges are all from Brooklyn,
right.
From New York City,
right?
And that's where they got their start. And they were making the transition to Hollywood. And Shemp said, "I don't want to go." He didn't want to be a part of that. He got his own. He had his own representation, and he got some parts in movies and short films by himself. And so they tapped their younger brother Jerome, also known as Curly. Got him to shave.
That was a pretty good idea, dude.
They got him to shave his head.
Yeah,
and the
rest
history
is
was
history.
made.
How long did Curly stick around? Like, what did he pass away, or did he get kicked out of the group, or what happened? I don't know the story.
Why don't we take a break and I'll tell you when we come back?
That's a great idea. I like that. All right, we'll be right back after this. Today's show is sponsored by Gamefly.com. 30-day free trial. Go to GameFlyOffer.com/HWT. And we are back. By the way, if you couldn't tell by the fact that we just kind of stumbled into this topic having fun, it is what we like to call Winging It Wednesday.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, we need some kind of thing that goes Winging It Wednesday.
Wow.
Or something like that.
That's all you need. Just do the Winging It Wednesdays. Do that.
Yeah.
Just do that, Scott.
Every time?
You don't need any.
Okay.
We keep talking about this mythical soundboard that we're going to get, but we never.
It costs money. Well, Bob has it, but we're not going to be able. I don't know. We're going to see how that goes.
Yes, we will.
We'll see.
We'll be able
He's
to
all
use
revved up about this, but I'm not sure. All right. So before the break, we were talking about the Three Stooges, and anytime I say the Three Stooges, all I can think of though is Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song where he goes, "All Three Stooges," because they were all Jewish. So
yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so we were asking about Curly, and I said, tell us about that. You already told us about Shemp. He didn't want to go at first because there are people that are not big Shemp fans. And you said, well, they tapped their younger brother. He shaved his head. He became Curly. Okay. So what happened to Curly? Why did Shemp come back on the scene?
Okay. And I know Bob's already fact-checking this.
Yes, I am. No fake news on Hey We're Talking.
Okay. Hey, I got my hands up. I'm not looking at nothing. All right. So the Stooges made the transition to Hollywood. They got featured in some films, but I think it was in 1934 that they made their debut on the Columbia short films. Well, go ahead, Bob.
Are you going to fact check him on his
fact check
dates?
Number one.
Come
1958.
Was what?
Was when they hooked up with Columbia Pictures.
58? Are you crazy? It's way before 58, brother.
Not what it says here.
Well, that's when they probably made their first feature film with Columbia. But they moved to Columbia in the early 30s, and that's when Curly's popularity.
Derek, did you see his face?
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right.
I know my Stooge. I know my Stoogemania or my Stoogiana." So they Curly was an instant hit in the early 30s, mid 30s, and and so all throughout the 30s into the early 40s, he was at the height. But they weren't making a ton of money. They didn't know how popular they were, and so but Curly was living it up, and into the early to mid 40s, his health began to decline, and then mid 40s he had a stroke, and he was told that he needed to take a break. So it was in 1946, I believe, that they pegged Shemp, their older brother. They're just like, hey, man. They asked him, said, will you take Curly's spot for a little bit? Mm-hmm. And he was like, sure. So they did a few. They did one or two films, and Curly almost came back. He had a little bit part on one Shemp film, but after that, he stayed out, and Shemp took back over until Shemp died in the early 50s, and
oh my
in the mid-50s. I think Curly lost a lot of weight. He grew his hair back. He settled down, but he didn't enjoy retirement too long. I think he died in 1952. I'm not sure. 1952 or 3, but he had a period of hard living, and he was very popular with the women. He was a great dancer. He was
he was very physical for a big dude, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he did crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's always good to see guys like that. Like Chris Farley instantly just popped into my head. I mean, he's a big dude, but he was just...
everybody we're talking about is dead.
Yeah. The tragedy is that they shine on screen. They are huge personalities, huge presence on screen. But in real life, Curly was very insecure. He was very shy. He was very self-conscious. Didn't like that he had to have a bald head. He didn't like it. He was used to having long curly hair, and
hence the name Curly.
There you go.
But it's also funny because he didn't have any hair. That's what made it extra funny.
Absolutely. So
wow.
Derek, you win the award today, man. I mean, you win the very first Winging It Wednesday wacky award.
He gets 10 bonus points for his amazing knowledge of the Stooges.
Yeah, your facts are pretty good. I mean, I 1955. I mean, just looking at some of these numbers.
Is that when Curly died? 55? You still don't know.
No, because I just scrolled off of it.
Oh, dang it.
46, Curly had the stroke. Shemp returned in May of 46. And then he died of a heart attack November 22nd, 1955.
He was at a boxing match.
Shemp?
I mean,
yeah. He was going strong, and he went to see a boxing match. He was a big fan of boxing. I think he just got in the back of a car and fell asleep. Never woke up. May he rest.
Crazy.
Wow.
And then the future of the Stooges was in jeopardy because it was just Moe and Larry, and they were the founding members. They were the orig, and they picked up a guy named Joe Besser for a while.
Yep.
Curly Joe?
No, not Curly Joe. It was a guy named Joe Besser.
Okay.
And they just called him Joe, and he was very annoying. He was like, "Stop it! You're crazy." He did not like to be hit. He did not like to be slapped.
Because the way they did those, there's no way they faked those slaps.
No.
Those were good, like full-on slaps. Now, eye pokes, I have to believe they pulled up a little bit because they'd hit right above the eyes, right?
Yeah. It was right above the
eyebrows. I always like that move, Derek. That move is the best. Put the hand up in the way, and then he just punches you in the stomach, and you go down to grab your stomach, and then he pokes you in the eyes anyway.
Great stuff.
Yep. And it was the sound effects that made it.
Yes, it was.
You got the moves all wrong. Your description was wrong, Scott, but that's okay.
No punch in the stomach first? What did he do?
There was a punch in the stomach, and then they would bend down, and then he'd pop him in the forehead.
Yes.
The
eye poke?
The eye poke block, Mo would go to poke him in the eyes.
This is then they would great.
Block it. They would block it with the hand in the middle, and then he would just poke him individually
with 2 hands.
his finger.
Okay, I gotcha. Look at you. This is actually pretty entertaining listening to him remembering all this stuff.
I've got this encyclopedic knowledge I used to have.
Do you have like a bunch of DVDs of them or anything like that? Or how do you watch them? How do you get your fix?
I haven't watched too many. You can find a lot of that stuff still on the internet. Like there's a streaming service, Crackle, that used to. They sometimes carry the Three Stooges. I used to watch it on AMC a lot.
I know some of it was on like Nick at Night and stuff, or not Nick at Night. There was
No, they have them on AMC all the time, like on Sunday mornings and stuff. I think.
On AMC back in the early 2000s, I recorded a whole bunch of them onto VHF.
VHS, you mean?
VHS, yeah. Sorry.
Wow, don't even remember it.
It's like rabbit earing it.
VHS, and it was hosted by Leslie Nielsen, and it was pretty neat. I recorded like
also.
Yeah, I recorded like 8 tapes worth of
tapes. That's the best part. So you still have a VCR that you can watch these on?
No, those are. I think they're at my parents' house. I don't.
Okay.
I gave them to my dad, but we don't watch those anymore. I get them online. I still watch a few of the hits. They were not all of them could be bangers, but there were quite a few good ones.
There's always one of the things that was always funny on that, and you're going to be able to correct me, but this is just my recollection. There was always like this. There was a couple of recurring characters. There was like this guy who was almost kind of like a banker or like a business guy all the time. And then there was a lady that she was kind of, I think she was a little bit bigger, and she and Curly would get into it a lot. Like, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. There were a number of recurring actors that had their roles. You know, there was always, and they all played different characters,
right?
But they all were in the same kind of archetype. You know,
yes.
There was always. There was.
They were usually stuffy people who were upset with how the Stooges were acting.
Yeah,
and they also had. There was a good amount of. Unless I'm wrong, you're gonna tell me if I'm wrong, but there was some good kicking in the butt things too. Usually a side kick in the butt. It wasn't like a full on stick my shoe up your rear end, but it was that side kind of kick. And they would do it. They would do it to some of the other people. It wasn't always to each other. Am I wrong?
No, they would do it occasionally. If somebody was in their way, if someone was, clearly evil.
I hope people have watched these things, because in my mind, as you're describing this stuff, I'm reliving all of them in my head.
All those memories coming back.
His little scoots and stuff. All of them. It's all Curly, like doing his little shuffles and stuff like that. Yeah.
It was a blast.
It was fun.
It was so much fun. Yeah.
And I don't know if people know this, and you'll know the name of the people who did it, but there was this thing, and it was huge when I was a kid. There was a song called The Curly Shuffle that came out, and it was huge. People played it. It was on the radio all the time, and they would play it at the hockey games all the time. And there was this guy at the Detroit Red Wings games at Joe Louis Arena who they eventually hired this guy to kind of pump up the crowd. He was like a bigger dude, and he would wear like this, he would put on like Red Wing stuff, but he would get all hyped up and act like a crazy person to the Curly Shuffle song. It was hilarious. He was a nut.
I've heard of the Curly Shuffle. I think it kind of it hit its popularity before I was.
It was in the 80s, so you were probably very young. But it was huge, man. Huge song back in the 80s. So there you go.
Just Bob, something my dad passed on to me, the love for the Stooges.
Bob, you've been left out of this conversation, and I want you to have a chance to talk.
No, it's been fun listening to Derek talk about it, because it does bring back some childhood memories, and
yes, it does.
I was kind of looking up, trying to see where, if you just Google where to find classic TV, watch classic TV shows, there's tons of places. There's a bunch of websites. I don't know which ones are legal or illegal, so I'm not going to say them, but I mean, there's tons of places to see them. If you haven't seen them, just take 5 minutes and go Google them and look up some clips. And the old comedy is so funny. And I love it because, and we've talked about this before, sometimes the simple, clean comedy is the best stuff. Nowadays, everyone's got to drop F-bombs and this and that and get all political and all that garbage. But, I mean, back in the day, it was clean, simple comedy, and it was great stuff. I mean, Johnny Carson did it well. There's so many people over time that just did it well, and it was simple, and it took everyday life stuff and made it funny. So I absolutely love that, and it's cool to be able to hear about it.
I just looked it up on YouTube. I just put in the Three Stooges, and there's this something called Classic Comedy Channel, and they actually have a bunch of, I mean, the Three Stooges movies or shows or whatever you want to call them were generally less than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So they've got a ton of them on here. So, and they look like they're full length. It doesn't look like you have to pay to see them. So if you look that up, it's just called Classic Comedy Channel, and it looks like they've got access to a bunch of these for some reason.
That's awesome.
Yep. Love the Stooges, and just for clarification, they were stars of short films.
Yeah.
These were short 20-minute films, like you said, that would be put on before a feature film. And the Stooges were so popular that they were the main draw to whatever crappy movie Columbia was playing. People would buy tickets just to see the Three Stooges.
They kind of went through a thing like that. I'm trying to remember when it was. I think it was probably when I was still in high school, where a couple of times for feature movies, and they did it with Pixar movies a couple of times, they would show a short before the movie. And that was so fun. There was like this, I wish we could go back to that time where there's like people could play their shorts before the feature comes on. Because it's kind of a fun experience to see like this little, it's almost like it gets you ready, you're kind of laughing and have a good time, and then the real movie starts. I'd like to see that happen again.
Maybe Hey, We're Talking needs to be that little short film right before the movie.
Little appetizer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen to Hey, We're Talking before you listen to that Joe Rogan podcast.
Columbia
gosh. Yeah, right.
Columbia Pictures, if you want to sponsor the show, you're welcome to. Just
if you exist, Columbia.
I think they do. They're owned by somebody else, though, probably. Bob, check it out and see who we got to find. Yeah. They're owned by some giant conglomerate. But anyway, so this was Winging It Wednesday. We took a turn there. I had no idea that we were going to talk about this. We did not talk about this 1 ounce, but it's given me an idea of all sorts of other things that we could talk about. I actually saw a thing about the Flintstones the other day and the Jetsons that was very interesting. That would be a great topic of conversation someday.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, you know, don't you?
Yeah.
Bob, what were you going to say? You look like you were going to stop me. Go ahead.
It looks like Columbia Pictures is owned by Sony Pictures now.
Yeah, which would explain why it's on Crackle, because Sony owns Crackle.
Sony, if you want to sponsor the show, you're welcome to.
Totally.
We're good with that.
Totally. All right. So on that note, do us a favor and head on over to our YouTube page, which is just Hey, We're Talking. Like it, subscribe, and hit the little bell. You'll know when our new shows come out. Also, go to Facebook, like our Facebook page. We're starting to get more and more people. It's actually, it's not like this wildfire of people joining the Hey, We're Talking parade, but we are slowly but surely gaining new people that are getting a chance to listen to the show and see the show, and it's exciting. It really is. And I think we keep branching out and talking to new people. Like we got to hang out with Ben on the other day, and dude, it's just fun.
Yeah, the interview with Chris Bean, that was awesome. Hanging out with him for a while. So,
and we're going to try to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got more people lined up. So some YouTubers, cigar guys.
Some YouTubers, some cigar guys. I like how you're like, wait a minute, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I don't want to start throwing names out there.
No, I know,
but,
don't.
We've got some cool stuff lined up. So
because
it's exciting.
Brad Pitt told us that if we mentioned that he'd be on the show, he wouldn't do it. So don't talk about Brad Pitt. Yeah. So Brad Pitt, whatever movie you're in next, if that movie wants to sponsor the show, go ahead and do so.
That'd be fine.
All right. So on that note, you can find us all over the place. Your favorite podcast app. Hey, We're Talking. You can check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Please do so. Please share this show with your friends. That's the only way anybody ever hears about it. And we have a lot of fun just sharing this with you guys and talking with you guys and interacting with you in the comments and all that kind of stuff. So we appreciate you. And coming up on Friday, I kind of teased it. We're going to talk a little bit about some things that you may not know about us. And that's going to happen Friday. So we will talk to you then.